Hey, how's it going, my patrons and the people who waited a year? You waited a whole year. Good for you. You saved $5 by waiting a whole year. Great job. This is the Destroy a Painting episode of Fix My Car Cast. It's toastier than I thought it would be, because I know I'm going to be outside in a little bit. Ooh, spoilers. So I know I'm going to need a jacket later, so to make the transition easier, I'm wearing a jacket, but don't love it. I'm going to get a thumbnail now, but I don't really think this is going to end up being the thumbnail. Here's me punching a painting. Yeah, that looks good. I'm probably going to get the thumbnail from when the painting gets destroyed. What painting is going to get destroyed? I don't know. Could be that one, could be a different one. We'll find out. Stay tuned. Choose the form of the destructor. It's a campfire. Spoilers. And this is where the theme song goes. If you can hear my roommate's laundry in the background, please get me out of debt so I don't need a roommate anymore. I'm just kidding. I'm an American. I'm going to have a roommate until I'm dead. Anyway, let's have a happy time podcasting. Yeah. You're listening to Fix My Car Cast, hosted by Bear Claw Billy, and this is episode 120. Comedian and musician Keith Hebert will be bringing some marshmallows by later, but first, housekeeping. This is the show where you pick what I say and how I say it. Pick a topic or prompt by donating to the GoFundMe, and vote on the gimmick by joining my Patreon for just $1 a month. Join at the $5 or higher level and also get bonus episodes and behind the scenes footage. Links are in the description. Also down there, merch. Get yourself some merch. And if you want to, destroy it. I ain't your mom. No new donors this week. The total raised for paying off my car repair debt is still holding at $2,150. Also, when we get to $3,000, it unlocks an automatic show gimmick, which is I will record an episode at sea. Fun fact, did you know that this whole podcast disappears when we hit $10,000? Send it up in flames. Hey, do you like the theme song? No? Well, if you make a donation of $50 or more, in addition to picking an episode topic, you get to change one thing about the theme song forever. Unless somebody else changes it back. Want me to turn it into a campfire round? I'll do it. $50. Also, if you would like to own the painting I made in episode 118, I'll be giving it away to the next person who donates $100 or more. That's right, own a piece of Fix My Car Cast history. Well, you still can. No new patrons this week, bummer. Now it's time for a topic suggestion. I'll suggest topics I think I could easily talk about for a whole episode, though admittedly, I think the show is more fun when it's something I'm completely clueless about. So, something I could talk about is, I don't know, have me rank something? The last time I had to rank something was all the way back in episode 41, where I ranked epitaphs in a graveyard. That was a fun one. Go check it out. Anyway, ask me to rank all the James Bonds, or all the Skittles flavors, or all the Secretaries of Agriculture, and I will give you my scorchingly hot takes on the best and worst of your requested data sets. Want to know more? Donate today. Checking in on the best city in the world, based on which city listened to the last episode the most, and we've got us a tie between Palisades Park, New Jersey, and Milton, Massachusetts, both first-timers here. Ties are broken by whichever city listened to the most episodes, and our big winner is Palisades Park, New Jersey. Congratulations, Palisades Park, New Jersey. Let it be known that your Sultan Sanjar Mausoleum, Urk Kala, and Hoja Yusuf Baba Masjidi are the best in the world for 7 days. Last episode, I tried to find the sponsor a roommate while building a Lego set. You can see video of all the raw footage, and we're talking at least an hour and 12 minutes of footage. Plus a little extra over on Patreon. Also, head over to Patreon for a bonus episode where I finish building the damn Lego set. Kind of. And yes, I do tell you what I built at the end. By the way, Catherine did get in touch with me after the episode she sponsored aired. Despite knowing almost nothing about her, I made my best attempt to describe her ideal roommate. Well, according to Catherine, she's more into doom metal than death metal, but she didn't make any further corrections, so I think it's safe to assume I was otherwise 100% accurate. Check out episode 119, Lego Troubles, and let me know if you're the perfect roomie Catherine is looking for. Okay, let's talk next week's gimmick poll. These are your choices for next week's episode gimmick. They are: do it like a heist movie, shotgun a beer, incorporate 25 video game titles, and our returning gimmick, do it like a film noir detective. Let's recap. That's number 1, do it like a heist movie. Number 2, shotgun a beer, which I have never done. Number 3, incorporate 25 video game titles. I'm not really that big a gamer. And our returning gimmick number 4, do it like a film noir detective. Remember that any gimmick that gets just a single vote is eligible for a second chance in 6 weeks. Be sure to vote over on Patreon. The poll closes Thursday, April 25th at noon Eastern America time. All right, time for today's gimmick, which is destroy a painting. Oh, I'll need a painting. How about this one? Of course, gimmicks don't start until housekeeping is out of the way in case any of them prevent me from sharing vital information. But now, we are entering the Destruction Zone. From this point on, gimmicks are active and everything is improvised. Today's topic comes to us from Joel for $50, and I've been asked to talk about why or why not all adults should play a tabletop RPG campaign. Now, behind me is where the Destruction Zone will be. I am standing in front of a bunch of brush and chemicals that will now become a fire. And I think we can agree that looks pretty destructive. And I have here a painting, and I do believe that when I place it into the fire, that will, pretty definitively destroy it. So let's do that. All right, so tabletop RPGs, what are they? Well, tabletop RPG, that stands for Tabletop Role Playing Game. I do want to assure everybody I have pyrotechnical assistance, but that went up pretty fast. If you're watching the video version, there's not a painting anymore. So RPGs, what are they? Well, I think a lot of people know D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like that's most people's idea of what a tabletop RPG is, if they even know what a tabletop RPG is at all. Now, confession, I got into RPGs pretty late, which surprises a lot of people. I know I have the sort of personality that says I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons in someone's basement since I was 6. I did not actually get into RPGs until I was way into adulthood. Whoo-wee! That is gone. That is just a frame at this point. I did not play them as a kid. Number one, I didn't even have an idea of what Dungeons and Dragons was. I think I thought it was a video game when I was a kid. I was a very sheltered kid, which is also probably no surprise, and also was raised very religiously. So I would not have been able to play Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't know anything about the satanic panic of the 90s, look that up, and maybe that will illuminate a little bit as to why I didn't get to play Dungeons and Dragons. We're not going to get into some of the other weird things I wasn't allowed to do and the weird justifications behind them. But so I did not get into RPGs until I was an adult. I want to say it was around 2018. And yes, that is a couple years before the lockdown happened. And to be honest, it was a really great thing to get me through said lockdown. So where to start? I have played I've played Dungeons and Dragons. When I was in college, I made a character sheet for Mutants and Masterminds, which is a superhero style RPG game. Folks, I'm curious. Would you call that a fully destroyed painting if the frame is still there? There's still some embers going, so maybe the frame will go up. I mean, I'm sure we'll get more fire going. We'll get rid of this thing. But you know, as it stands, it's not a painting. If you showed that to anyone, it's not a painting. It is a frame at best, and that reminds me of the framework that I found myself in. How did I get invited into my current RPG group? I'm trying to remember. Let me think. It was a comedian friend of mine who said he was looking for someone for his campaign, and away I went and I joined up. And I've got to say, I am a fan. If you've never played an RPG, I think you should. Oops, that's the whole topic. I do appreciate, Joel, that you did say why or why not. I'll try to think of some why nots later. I think that's a very interesting part of the topic that you've requested here today. And you have given me $50, so I feel like I need to really deep dive on how great this is. So we'll go deep, folks. We'll go deep because I think there are a lot of benefits to playing a tabletop RPG. So the one that I have played is Call of Cthulhu, which is based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft, which is based on one man's horrible, horrible brain. So you know, you got to have that conversation whenever you start a game. I mean, it's just going to come up. But the thing is that like D&D, which again, I don't have a ton of experience with. I played one game on a learn how to play D&D night at a bar. Weirdly, also, that's how I met one of my closest friends. But we'll talk about her in another episode. Let's see. The one that I did... Oh, it turned out to get out of the dungeon, you had to do the Konami code, up, down, left, right, BA, select, start, or whatever. I don't know how I would have figured that out, and I don't really understand how that puzzle works within the world of the thing. Like, how would our characters know that it's a cheat code from a video game? No judgment on whoever ran that campaign. I think they needed something you could solve in an afternoon. But well, there goes some ash, folks. So while I haven't done a lot of D&D, I do watch some D&D shows. Big fan of Dimension 20 on Dropout. Brennan Lee Mulligan is the perfect man, and he's great. He's just the best dungeon master I've ever seen. Not that I've seen a lot, though. But yeah, in Call of Cthulhu, I guess you have a game master because it's not a dungeon per se, but there are some dungeons in that game. Call of Cthulhu is more horror-based. So whereas in Dungeons & Dragons, you might be trying to slay a dragon or find some treasure, in Call of Cthulhu, you are trying to go insane and die as horrifically as possible. Life goals. So like in that one, you frequently have your characters, get replaced or like become a burden to the team. Like they need to get rid of you. And it's interesting because it puts you in a lot of like ethical dilemmas and like it's also just terrifying. I think the campaign I'm playing right now, only one player is the character they started as because we all just keep going insane and dying horrifically. Hey, Billy, sell me on the go insane and die horrifically game. Sure. So yeah, I feel like just like any other kind of storytelling, like you're getting into psychological things, you're getting into the id. And it's interesting to me, again, specifically that Joel was like, why adults should play RPG campaigns. And I think it's because it's play. And play is very important for the human mind. It's very important for you psychologically. When children play, they're trying to deal with harsh realities. When kids turn sticks into guns, isn't that them, kind of trying to figure out, hey, what's this whole war thing? What's this whole death thing? Like, I have some guests today. As part of our pyrotechnic show. But yeah, I'm a fan of, like, I like improv for that same reason. Like, you're trying to get into like a headspace of, like, kind of a safe area to, like, work out different topics of existing and being a human, and it can be very difficult. So I like it for that. Like, I remember seeing a meme once about, like, if someone in your D&D campaign hasn't figured out their gender by the end, you're doing it wrong. Like, it is a way to sort of, like, try on a different persona and see how it feels. And I think that's a really important part of it as well. And that's the same with me in, like, any acting exercise, where it's like, it's fun to play a character who's similar to you. It's also fun to play a character who's nothing like you. And you get the benefit of both of those things when you do an RPG campaign. So I'm a fan of that. It looks like the fire is almost entirely out. I don't know. I'll check with our pyrotechnics expert in a bit. But I don't know if it picked up on Mike, but my niece was having a little bit of a sad time, so apologies if I got a little flustered and a little dead air there, but she seems okay now. So like, in the campaign that I'm doing right now, I originally started as, like, an investigative journalist, and just some annoying dumbass kid going to college for journalism and off to research all the adventures and things. And, like, what I like is, like, I mentioned H.P. Lovecraft is the inspiration for the game, but, like, there's a lot of you can do whatever you want. I feel like there's a lot of elements of, like, other styles of horror. Like, we do a lot of John Carpenter, Cronenberg-y kind of body horror stuff, and just, like, psychedelic madness. And it's really fun to experiment with that stuff and take it to, like, dark places. Like, my character's mother died when he was young, because every character in an RPG campaign needs to have parental trauma. And so he's really close with his dad, even though his dad is not as equipped to raise him, is sort of the backstory I was going with. Now, my investigator character, currently probably deceased. I feel like the same rule of television: if you don't see a body, nobody's dead. And if it's, like, sci-fi or fantasy, even if you see a body, somebody might not be dead. But so my character is currently missing. He went insane attempting to teleport his father into the dream realm, and unbeknownst to him, he actually made a copy of his father from memory. So his real father is still out there somewhere, but this is his dream daddy. And this was great because, like, and this is what I really love about RPGs, is, like, you can't plan this stuff. Like, you're just kind of winging it as you go, and you run into things like this, where my character is fully insane, thinks he can teleport things when actually he's manifesting them, and it took so much energy to manifest a copy of his father that he went fully insane and jumped off a boat. And so my character now is this cosmic daddy. He's everyone's daddy. He's the Uber father. And, like, again, it's so collaborative. Like, you really learn how to work with people. Now, in fairness, you can get that in lots of other aspects of life. I definitely get that from improv. I get that from, collaborative art, things like that. But, like, RPGs are really fun for that, where it's like you are telling a story together. You are making this story together. And I'm gonna go down my own little path here. Because I was having a think the other day about, like, how many story ideas I come up with in my head, and I can just access them, like a little library of movies and stories that only I know about, and there's hundreds of them in there, and I just think that's neat. Like, art isn't valid just because it has millions of fans and millions of people viewing it. You should also just, hang out with your friends and make up a little story. It's just fun. Like, now, I'm going to go a little dark side here. I don't need dice and a big old Gary Gygax book to do goofy things with my friends. My friends and I are always doing characters and skits and whatever. Honestly, it's the way to live. So I highly recommend surrounding yourself with people you love and doing dumb characters with them. If you want to do that in an RPG, great. But also, you should just be doing that anyway because it's fun, and that's what friendship and love is all about. The real going insane and dying horrifically was the friends we made along the way. So yeah, and I was very skeptical of Dungeons and Dragons. In college, when someone was trying to get me into Mutants and Masterminds, I said, like, so it's improv but with math? I've never watched Whose Line Is It Anyway and thought, needs more algebra. Like, but I was a snarky little shit. You know, that was just me being kind of like, I don't know, seems like improv with extra steps. Ooh, somebody went to college and learned that. But yeah, so I was skeptical going in, but it's really fun. You know, and then there's aspects like metagaming where, like, you know, you as the players understand what's happening, but your characters don't. And then you get to have fun little moments like that where you look at each other and you're like, I'm gonna make him do something stupid. Like, he doesn't know this is stupid though. And that's really fun. Also, RPGs. They're great long distance hangouts. You know, if you have friends that live real far away, but it's kind of awkward just to pop on Zoom every so often, we'll pop on Zoom and pretend you're, you know, mages and superheroes and whatnot. Like, have fun with it. I don't even know my D&D classes. Again, I've played very little, but I would like to get into it. I don't know. There's this really cool local show called Lobster Roll, ROLE, that you might want to check out. I did some stand-up opening for one of their shows. I sure hope they don't include it with the video. Whatever, I did fine. Mike didn't work for half of it, but that's okay. That's okay. Because rolling with the punches, that's what RPGs are all about, my friends. That is the aspect that I really like. Realizing that, like, and you know, whew, man, I'm really gonna go out on a limb. I'm an over planner. I like to improvise, but I also like to constantly absorb knowledge so that I'm ready for any scenario. And that's kind of how tabletop RPGs work. Your character has certain skills that don't guarantee, but the more skilled they are, the more they have a chance of coming away from a bad roll. Now, what is a bad roll? You may be someone who doesn't know anything whatsoever about RPGs, so let me try to break it down for you. By the way, Call of Cthulhu rules work different from D&D. I apologize if I get them mixed up, but you know what? I'll just tell you the one that I'm used to. On the Call of Cthulhu system, you have a value for different skills from 0 to 100, and you want the higher. No, wait, sorry. You want the lower number. In Call of Cthulhu, 1 is good. In Dungeons and Dragons, 1 is terrible. So yeah, so let's say my acting skill is 40, and if I roll a 20, well, that's within my acting skill, so I do a good job. If I roll higher than a 40, that's not within my acting skill, so I don't do as well a job. But the thing is the more you try to get that skill up, you try to get acting higher and higher and higher and higher, then eventually, no matter what you roll, you're probably going to do okay. And I think that's interesting. It's kind of true to life. Like, you know, it doesn't mean that you get out of every scrape. Like, at the end of the day, it's still up to the dice. But it does sort of kind of retrain your brain to be like, look, the best I can do is try to be prepared. And yeah, like, it forces you to problem solve, too. Like, you're going to run into stuff. And like the GM sometimes doesn't have how you're going to get out of this scrape like planned out in advance. So it's been fun, and it's fun to ask the GM, like, did you plan this? And sometimes, you know, yeah, and sometimes no. I had no idea you guys were going to interpret this way and take it in this direction. But again, it's that collaborative effort. I debated telling this story because it happened to me last night. yeah, we're going to take a little detour here. So last night I had to pretend I knew someone to protect her from someone that was following her. And it was scary, but rose to the challenge. Made up a little fake conversation. The creep went away. And friends were asking me about it, and the way I described it was, yeah, I'm just glad the acting skill was so high because the fighting skill is so low, and if it went that way, probably wouldn't have passed the role. And I had a moment of oh boy, maybe that's not how I should look at life events. But you know what, folks? I've been using pop culture to get through this thing called life, dearly beloved, since I was born. So what's one more? Skill up, everybody, skill up. So yeah, and the other thing is there are so many different kinds of RPGs. I have lots of friends that do them. Fantasy is very typical. Science fiction is very typical. There are romance RPGs. There's all kinds of stuff. There's Western RPGs. Pick any time period. You can do an RPG in it. Yeah, it's fun stuff. It almost feels unnecessary to be hey, it's fun to pretend, but guess what, folks? It's fun to pretend. So if you like to pretend, do that. Now, I would think that the kind of people that like my show, they're probably artsy types. So this probably sounds appealing to you. But hey, maybe you're listening to this going oh, that's for babies. What? No, why are we playing? We're adults. Well, I'll have you know, a lot of people feel that way. A friend of mine actually. Mr. X himself. He was skeptical on this stuff, but he played one where he was it was a space mining colony or something. I wasn't part of that game, but I got to hear him talk about it, and he went in skeptical, but he was it's interesting. It's really interesting. I think it is it's kind of a seismic shift. If you are really into video games or books or movies or TV, it's a different medium. It's vastly different to be we're enjoying this story and the person who wrote it is all of us. Neat. It's nice to make something with your friends. So I highly recommend RPGs. Now, the question ultimately was why or why not should all adults play tabletop RPGs? I don't think all of them should. I don't know. Negative downsides, I guess, is not where I'm going with this, but it's more it's probably not for everybody. I don't know. That would be weird if I was hey, every adult should make electronic music, because I do. I would not say that. Every adult should watch sports. I would not say that. Every adult should listen to Sports by Huey Lewis and the News, though. Woo, big gust coming. I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but I am outdoors, if you're just listening to the audio version, and it's a blustery day. Case in point, the fire is out. But the painting is destroyed. I do see a little smoke coming off, so I'm not willing to take the remnants out of the fire just yet. I'm going to wait for my pyrotechnics friend to give me the all clear to take out the old frame. But I can assure you the painting that I have put into the fire is no more. So I hope you enjoyed that, everyone who voted for that gimmick. It has not left me terribly emotional. Maybe in the future I'll have to do put a treasured possession into a fire. In which case, you villains, you monsters, you horrible people, why would you want me to do that? But yes, the painting that has gone into the fire is coming out as definitively not a painting. So, RPGs, which ones should you try? Well, there's all kinds. GURPS. So GURPS, I have no idea what it stands for. Generic underwear roleplay. That is not the title of this episode. GURPS, something role-playing system, lets you design your own worlds. So even if you can't find a game for you, GURPS will let you make a game. If you go out there into the world and you're just I don't know, none of these seem to be for me, well, GURPS is there to say, okay, make your own. Now, it may be a lot of work, and I'll fully admit, the character sheet and all the math, it is a lot of work. And I've never done the Dungeon Master side of things. And folks, I don't know if I could. it is hard work. I think if I were to recommend that all adults play an RPG, a tabletop RPG, I would definitely recommend do it with a GM who knows what they are doing. It is a complicated process. I really like my GM. And actually, you appreciate my Call of Cthulhu game because your favorite deity and mine, Cathalak, actually comes from my Call of Cthulhu campaign. GM just made it up on a whim for like a quick side quest in a lake, and we ran with it. Just us as a gang of weirdos. We were just like, we love this guy and we want to worship him. And the more we worship him, the more powerful he gets. I'm of course speaking in the game, not in real life as far as I know. I cannot speak to Koalamos. Koalamos did not come from an RPG. Koalamos came from Greek mythology. So they're still battling it out, and we'll see who the strongest deity is between the two. But yeah, like I just stop and wistfully think about some of the interesting like moments from my RPG. At one point, the GM had us read a book to, gather historical information about the quest ahead of us, and then suddenly time jump back 1,000 years. And now we are playing the characters in the book that our characters are reading, and the GM structured it so that what we did in the past 1,000 years ago dictated where the quest would end up in quote-unquote modern day. In the game we're playing, it's in the 1920s. That's cool shit. Like you can do stuff like that in an RPG, and that's just really bonkers. So yeah, like that's what I love about it. Like it definitely fosters creativity. I think it gives you a positive outlook on life. Like, oh, if I get my skills up, then I'll be ready for whatever the dice throw at me. And folks, you will have games where you are just bing, bing, bing crushing it, and you will have games when you are zeroing it. Or 100ing it if you're playing Cthulhu. Yeah, the systems being different does kind of throw me for a loop. Even now when I was at the Critical Role show, there were a couple of times where somebody was like, 1! And I was like, yeah, oh wait, that's bad for you guys, because it was D&D. So recommend, find one that speaks to your sensibilities. If you're spooky, Cthulhu. If you're magical, well, there's a lot of ones if you're magical, but obviously D&D. I think there's one that's just kids on bikes. Like if you want to have a Stranger Things Goonies adventure, you do that. So yeah, find what's good for you. I would find a GM who's done it before, and then maybe slowly you'll learn, okay, that's how this works, and then maybe you or your friends can give it a crack once they learn a little more. And yeah, have fun with it. Figure stuff out. Try to make sense of this weird old world however you can. Whew, the wind's getting real bad. As always, lock your tripod.